Hey, welcome back to the Infamous Podcast. This is Brian.
This is Darryl.
And this is episode 322, our certified Infamous Best of 2021 television and film. Anyway, I know we did not do our certified Infamous list last year because we ran out of time and there was too much cool shit to talk about. So anyway, real quick, you just, before we started, you just said something about Fast 10 or whatever they're going to call it.
Yeah. Oh, it was just that The Rock slammed Vin Diesel for his public plea for The Rock to get into it. I don't know. I didn't read the article.
Yeah. I just feel like The Rock needs to shut up. Just shut up altogether.
I would agree. To be honest, I think most Hollywood people just need to shut up.
Well, yeah, but The Rock more than anybody, like, he needs to just go away for like 2 years. Just go like make money, do all the other things you do besides acting that make money, and like put all of your effort into that and shut the fuck up. Anyway.
So, how do you really feel?
He's garbage. He's the least authentic person I've seen him in person, like, you know, going to wrestling events and stuff. Like, he's the least authentic person I've ever seen in real life. He's definitely the least authentic person I've ever seen on television.
That's considering how many people in Hollywood are inauthentic. I have to say I can't say that. You know, the real life thing, possibly. Although I mean, there are politicians who are more authentic than The Rock, the Dwayne Johnson. Anyway, I bet. But they're also politicians less authentic. So.
Well, yeah, I'm not going to argue that fact, but I mean, well, no, I am going to argue that fact. He's pretty bad. So anyway, all right, let's hop into the TV shows because I don't really want to spend any more time talking about Dwayne Johnson. All right.
Yeah, that was a little bit too long.
I mean, we went like 2 minutes on that. Like, no thanks. Anyway. Okay, so we this year what we've done is we've, instead of splitting it out into 2 episodes, we've just consolidated it to one. We've each picked 5 TV shows, 5 movies, and we're gonna rate them on a scale of 1 to 10. I'm not gonna come up with any like clever like, what do you rate this? I'm relatively, so we don't know each other's lists. That's the other thing. So this is all news to each other. So yeah, why don't you kick it off first, D?
All right, so television shows. So this one's one of those that I had to ask you because there were a couple shows I wasn't sure about that they started in 2021. It just seems like this was a long year, and some kind of like started in 2020 and 2020 and then ended in 21. So the first show actually, just a second, the first show that actually premiered January 1st of 2021 and is on my list is Cobra Kai. We've talked about this show a lot, and the biggest thing that I always say about Cobra Kai is it's not the best show, but out of the shows that I watch, only one other show just gets me so geeky excited about it, that feel good type geeky excited.
Sure.
And that's Superman and Lois. And in that regard, that's why Cobra Kai.
What's the second one?
Supes and Lolo.
Oh, thank you.
Is that better? So I
didn't know what you were talking about when you said Superman and Lois. Lowfall? What? Anyway.
So, and again, a caveat to some of these is that if my ratings for these are different than what they were when we did it, it's kind of like one of those things where as time passes, you think about something, you might rate it a little bit higher, you might rate it a little bit lower, but they're going to be in the general vicinity. And in that regards, I give Cobra Kai a 9 out of 10.
All right. All right, so these are in no particular order, by the way, and since I have Cobra Kai on my list as well, I really like this season. I'm a sucker for the whole I was injured and can't walk, and now I'm a kung fu master again in the span of 10 episodes. And Miguel Diaz is the one true Karate Kid. So we must not forget that. I really like season 3. I'm really looking forward to season 4. We're recording this on December 30th. So Cobra Kai season 4 has not come out yet. And it will probably disqualify Cobra Kai from being in the 2022 list because it's coming out early. So that being said, I enjoyed this a ton. I watched through twice just because I had a hard time putting together my list this year. So I went 8 out of 10.
All right, that's still strong.
I mean,
still
for me, that's
strong.
high. I mean, like,
Yeah.
But and let me just like kind of, and I'm sure you're doing yours this way as well. But like my scores are not reflective of like each other, like for the shows. So like something could have a lower score than 8 out of 10, and I liked it more. I'm just saying for Cobra Kai, for what it did, and how the story progressed, 8 out of 10 for me.
It's very solid.
So, all right, what do you got next?
This is actually one of the latest ones, and that is Lost in Space. Again, we reviewed Lost in Space.
Mm-hmm.
Season 1 was good. I really fell for that show in season 2. I just thought everything was better. And season 3 did what a lot of shows have a very tough time in doing, and that's piecing things together and sticking the landing on that finale. And it did it in a way that it's still open. Maybe a couple years down the road, they do a Lost in Space Netflix movie, whatever.
Danger,
but
Will
for
Robinson,
season 3,
danger.
Yeah, season 3 of Lost in Space, just great character development, great, and again, it's always had the great visuals. It just visually looks like a movie, and just all the cinematography and all that stuff. Everything was just so well done, well put together. We've been with this crew, I mean, 3 seasons, but it's been more like 5 years. Yeah. Since 4 or 5 years or something like that. But I give Lost in Space an 8 out of 10.
All right. Yeah, that's a good one. That's 8 out of 10 is a good score for that. I think I agree with you. This past season was it ended so strong, and it was probably the best season for sure. All right, so my next one is Ted Lasso. From Apple TV. I loved this season. It was more of a slice of life even than the first one, which I enjoy. And they gave us like a real villain in Nate. I know you haven't seen it, so I'm not going to spoil too much. But like Nate turned into this like horrible person for the most part throughout the season, and watching his fall from being someone who was like caring and loving and like, wanted to, like, his love language was pleasing people, to spitting on like when he would look in the mirror, he'd spit on himself. And like, it's like, what is going on here? It was really interesting for something that's supposed to be a really lighthearted show. Right. And then like the way it dealt with Ted and anxiety and things like that, and things that carried over from the first season, it was really good. And, Roy fucking Kent is like one of the best characters on television.
I'm really going to have to jump into that.
Yeah. So this one's getting an 8 out of 10 as well.
All right. So I match your 8 out of 10 with another show that I gave an 8 out of 10. And this might be a surprise to some people, although I did talk about it a few weeks ago, and that's Arcane. It's an animated series that is a predecessor, or actually a prologue, you would say, or a prequel to the League of Legends game, which, again, I have zero experience with the game. It doesn't matter, because the way the show is crafted, first of all, the visuals and the sound is just top notch. It's one of the most visually pleasing animated shows I have ever seen. And ever seen. It's that well done. The characters are great. The voice acting is great. One of the main characters, Haley Steinfeld, voices Vi. And it's just, the story I think it's 9 episodes long, and it's about a story about family and choices, and like you have the first 3 episodes are, its own little self-contained story, and then we pick up 10 15 years later after that, and how these characters have changed. I think this is one of those shows that people might, and again, a lot of times people turn away from something, whether it's sci-fi or it's animated, because it's sci-fi or animated, and they miss out on a very strong storytelling. Mm-hmm. And Arcane had to make my list because it was just one of the best storytelling series of the last, I won't even say this year, but the last couple years for me. And that's why I gave it an 8 out of 10.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's cool. I'm like, it's on my list. I still haven't checked it out yet, but I'm also not huge
And the music
into anime.
is great too, by the way.
Nice. Cool. All right. So my next one is The Expanse. Obviously last season and the current season both aired in this calendar year. So, that worked out, seasons 5 and 6. But I love where this show's going. Yeah, we're recording on Thursday. I can't wait to watch it tonight when it drops early. But yeah, for me, The Expanse and the IP of The Expanse, like the whole, like the books and the novellas and everything, has like risen up to like Dune and Star Wars level for me. It's close to Farscape as far as my heart for sci-fi for television goes. I mean, I'm not going to say The Expanse is my favorite show of all time. I mean, that's Farscape, but it gets up there. I mean, this is a show that I'm when it's finally done, when they tackle the Laconia saga of the last 3 books, this will definitely be a show that I look forward to just kind of like going back and picking and choosing, watching story arcs from. I don't even have to watch the whole thing, but I will be excited to do that, and so because of that, I'm giving this a 9 out of 10.
It might surprise you, this is not on my list, and part of the reason was I was just thinking of season 6, and I did forget about season 5. The last 4 episodes of season 5, 4 or 5 episodes, did crawl into 2021. I still don't know if it would have stayed on my list overall, because as much as I did like season 5, it was not quite as good as the previous season. Although this season has been, for 3 episodes, it's been pretty strong. And I know this show is going to be, when it's all said and done, no matter what happens in these last 3 episodes, it's going to be one of my favorite sci-fi series of all time.
Yeah, I think if you look at season 5 in context of what we've seen in season 6 too,
yeah,
it really helps boost the score.
Yeah, and that was where, and again, it made my honorable mention just looking at season 3.
Yeah,
it would be interesting for me to think about it, to see if I would have put it on here, if I would have thought of season 5. But instead, I do have a show that we both love and giggle like children when it comes on.
Yeah,
and it comes on again, by the way, in 12 days, I believe, January 11th, season 2, and that is Soups and Lolo.
Yup.
This is a show, especially the fact that it was on the CW, that it was better than it should have been.
Yeah.
I mean,
absolutely.
And I don't mean better than it should have been for a CW show. Not just that, because it could have been on any network, and this show is good.
Yeah.
It's good from a standpoint of showing just the CG of the Superman, some of his feats, how it portrays Superman, and the relationship between Lois and Clark is one of the best relationships you'll see on the show out there, and I would contend on any show out there, whether it be genre show, just stand-up drama, whatever, it doesn't matter. Their relationship and the way the writers, I'm going to use your word, show restraint in the sense of not creating or not writing needless drama, but instead having it play out like it should with 2 high-functioning adults, is one of the best things about this show. And let's not forget, we see Clark Kent as the nerd dad Clark Kent,
Yeah.
which is great. It's just, I mean, just the Kent family, the cast of the Kent family is so well done, and we can't forget about Wole Park as John Henry Irons. He's just so good, and just the way he relates to the Lois and Clark dynamic and the reasons why, and I just absolutely love this show.
Did you rate this? Did you say your rating yet?
Yeah, no, I am giving this, just with all of that said and done. I don't remember what I rated it when we finished, reviewing it, but I give this is a strong 9 out of 10.
Yeah. So this is on my list as well. And I'll be honest, this would have been on my list just for the first 5 minutes of the pilot.
Oh man.
I feel like the pilot for Superman and Lois, or Supes and Lolo as it's colloquially called in the zeitgeist of nerd media. Anyway, but it's gonna happen. I'm gonna make it. I always ask people, "Did you watch Supes and Lolo?" And they're like, "What?" I said, "Supes and Lolo on the CW." And then like, "Mean Superman and Lois?" I'm no, Supes and Lolo. I don't know what the Superman and Lois show you're talking about. Anyway, but no, it was the whole pilot episode was such a great introduction to a character who was essentially cucked in Supergirl. I think Tyler Hoechlin is an amazing Clark Kent Superman mix. I think they've all the Supermen have had like something that they were all really good at, right? Christopher Reeve was great at Clark Kent. He was a good Superman, but he was great at Clark Kent. Like, he was comic accurate. Like, just the whole like hunching over and everything was perfect. Brandon Routh, I think, was a great like impression of Christopher Reeve. And then Dean Cain, I think, was also a great Clark Kent, but he was a really good, like, he was like, I like Dean Cain most when he was Superman, right?
Yeah.
Because he was far too handsome to be Clark Kent. And then Henry Cavill he's just a great Superman. His Clark Kent is fine, but like, he was a great Superman. But I think with Tyler, he's been given something that none of them have been given. And it's the family. And he exceeds as Clark Kent nerd dad. And it's what really adds to the show. And then on the flip side of that, the relationship that Clark and Lois have, and the way they're trying to raise the boys, and when they reveal that Clark is Superman in the pilot, and the boys obviously react poorly. The swerve that Jordan had the powers, not John. The swerve that Wole Park was not a black Lex Luthor. He was John Henry Irons Steel from another multiverse. And was married, and that John Henry Irons was married to Lois Lane. It's just the constant, like, okay, so like a lot of shows are like, oh, we want to subvert expectations, right? This show did not subvert expectations as much as it said, we're going to go this way, but then we're really going to satisfy you with what the actual answer is. Emmanuel Chikar, how do you say her last name?
I always blurb that up.
Chikari or whatever. Cherie, yeah. Anyway, and then what's the guy's name that plays Kyle? Hold on, I have it. Anyway, like, their relationship as Lana and where'd it go? Kyle, thank you. It is great. Why is he not in the top? Eric Valdez. So to me, for Superman and Lois, the two like brightest spots that are not named Clark and Lois are Kyle and Steel. I'm a huge Wole Park fan. I've liked that guy since Premium Rush when he was the bike messenger in the JGL movie. And I've never seen anything with Eric Valdez in it that I remember, but I think he's just a standout. Like, at first you're like, oh man, this guy's awful, I hate him. But then you get to learn his motivations and why he loved Smallville and what he gives to Smallville and all of that fun stuff. And I thought they did a great job with the villains. Like villains, the Superman like villains, like bringing in Brendan Fletcher as Thaddeus Kilgrave was just genius casting, just genius, and it was just different, and it wasn't just the same old. The the X Kryptonite was very interesting and at the same time still really different from Smallville's use of Kryptonite, and I did not include Tom Welling in the Superman talk because he was never Superman. He was only Clark Kent.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And I think the thing is with this show, like you said, as Tyler Hoechlin is phenomenal. And because it's a CW show, because it's on a network, there are going to be a lot of people that don't see just how well he fits into the long line of actors playing Superman / Clark Kent. He is just incredible, and I think that's a shame. I really hope that the CW /WB does a better job marketing this show and not interrupting this show, because a lot of the momentum it had in the first several weeks it was out, got smashed because of reasons and the way that the WB handle things. I really hope this gets the recognition it deserves, and I'm really hoping that season 2 lives up to what season 1 was as well, because again, love this show.
I mean, the trailer for season 2 looks great.
Oh, absolutely.
But we've been fooled by trailers before. The other thing is with this one, it did get messed up. They need to just put it on HBO Max. Is really, I think that's how the show would shine 100%. And just run it through, like do the first 3 episodes like they do, and then run it through the next 10 weeks. That being said, they don't have the albatross that is Supergirl around their neck this season. There's no like, well, we're going to take it off for 5 weeks because of COVID or whatever, and we're going to replace it with new episodes of Supergirl that is going to just kill the time slot moving forward.
Right.
The way the numbers dropped though was really concerning, because the viewership of the show is not indicative of the quality of this show. Actually, this is the only network television show I have on my list. Everything else is streaming. And I think that right there is, tells you everything you need to know about, at least my opinion of network TV. And it's been my opinion of network TV for quite a while. So to have a network show on here in a top 5 for me, and it be a Superman show on the C wokeness, what is just like, this was, if I was rating these in order, this would be my number 2 favorite show of the year.
It'd be in my top 2 as well. Yeah. I'm not sure if it'd be number 1 or number 2, but yes, it would be up there.
Well, my last show is number 1. But what's your last show?
So before I get to my last show, I will add, I mentioned The Expanse as one of my honorable mentions. 2 other shows is, I told you about this one, Squid Game. Mm-hmm. I love that show for the most part. It didn't stick the landing for me.
Sure.
For the season finale, there were just some choices that they made. Well, the last episode and a half that I really wasn't a fan of. The other one, and this was a tough one, is Hawkeye. I thought Hawkeye was a lot of fun. It was a pleasant surprise considering 2 shows on my disappointment list were Falcon and Winter Soldier and Loki, or as you call it, Sylvie. It just got nipped out by another show that was on Disney Plus, and that's the first show of the year, and that was WandaVision. WandaVision, even now, I've watched it at least twice all the way through. WandaVision was so creative, and not just creative in doing things differently, but it also hit me with some of the nostalgia of some of the shows I used to watch back when I was growing up on like TV Land and things like that. And they did such a note perfect job capturing those shows, paying reverence to those shows, while also weaving in a bigger story about Wanda, the loss of Vision, and how it affected her and her powers going awry. I thought Elizabeth Olsen was incredible.
Mm-hmm.
She should have been looked at for, and again, I don't know if she was or not because I don't pay attention to this, but I think she should have absolutely been considered or nominated for an Emmy. That's how great she was in this. And again, Paul Bettany as well. I thought he was phenomenal. They did have a couple issues with a cookie cutter villain that could have been fleshed out. But ultimately, this was about Wanda and Vision. Mm-hmm. Even how it relates to the rest of the MCU, I didn't necessarily care because I was more invested in what was going on between those two. And it was just a great show. And with that, I give it an 8.5 out of 10.
Okay. That makes sense. So, that was your honorable mention, right?
No, that was my number 5. My honorable mention was Hawkeye and Squid Game.
So wait, what was your 5th then? You lost me.
At Cobra Kai, Lost in Space, Supes and Lolo, Arcane, and WandaVision.
Oh, WandaVision. Okay. When you went to your honorable mentions first, it threw me for a loop.
Oh, kind of threw you for okay.
Yeah. Anyway, I was expecting those last. All right, so I'll do the same thing. I'll do my honorable mentions. I have a couple actually. So one is a show called Home Economics on ABC. It stars Topher Grace. I'm a huge Topher Grace fan, and it also stars Jimmy Tardo. If you guys remember the mockumentary series that Netflix did about the kid who painted the penises on the teachers' cars.
American
Vandal. Thank you. I love him, and he's been in a bunch of stuff. But I love that guy. I think the Bad Batch deserves an honorable mention, even though we stopped talking about it. It definitely came around at the end and made me want to come back for more. And then I gave both WandaVision and Hawkeye honorable mentions as well.
Okay.
I think as much as I enjoyed both of them, they are still MCU properties in the fan fiction era of Marvel, of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And so we're getting an Agatha Harkness standalone series out of this. They learned the wrong lesson about what Agatha did. With Hawkeye, I don't know where it's gonna go. And I felt like the finale, while I liked it, was rushed, and they made a couple decisions that were not great, like with Kingpin and that sort of thing. And I think the creative teams, the creative teams on both of those two shows were really uneven, as far as what, the quality of writing and storytelling. But yeah. All right. So my last one, and this was my favorite show of the year. It was Succession. I give it a 10 out of 10. The whole following of the Roy family, and just the fact that there's no heroes in this show. No one's pretending anyone's a hero. This is all about class relations in America, media in America, and at the heart of it, it's about just a family of assholes who are constantly backstabbing each other. Whether it's blood relation or marriage, whatever. It's just everyone's looking to get the leg up on each other. And this season just pulled out all the stops. It's obviously coming back for a 4th season, and I actually hope the 4th season is the last, because it'll go out on such a huge high note. Jesse Armstrong, the showrunner, the executive producer, creator, is an amazingly creative talent, and I'm really interested to see what he does after Succession. And the show looks amazing. It looks it's just beautiful. and you would think a show about like corporate espionage for the most part of like, you know, family infighting, like it's exciting. You watch it, and you just enjoy it. And there were great. Eric Sarsgaard guest starred this season as a really just like prick of a tech billionaire, and I mean it's just really good. And Kieran Culkin steals the show. Like Kieran Culkin is 100% like my favorite part of the show. Having grown up watching Kieran Culkin from Fuller in Home Alone to what's his character in Scott Pilgrim?
I don't remember.
I don't remember his name now. It just jumped out of my head. But like watching all of that, and just I mean, in how he is as Roman Roy, it's so cool to see like an actor at the top of his game getting to work with like really edgy and cool stuff. And you know, it's Kieran fucking Culkin, you know? I mean, it's you kind of got to look at it that way. He was Wallace, by the way, Wallace Wells. So yeah, I loved it. I give it a 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10, 100%.
Yeah. I'll have to watch that, but I have problems with shows where there are no real heroes. And when I say problems, that doesn't mean I don't like them. Ozark's an example. There's nobody that's a hero in Ozark, and I still like it. And you said there's 3 seasons. The 3rd season just came out of Succession,
it just ended,
correct?
Yeah.
Okay. And that's HBO Max, or is that Showtime?
It's on HBO Max.
Okay, so I'm definitely going to check, just because I have heard good things about it. Good there are some really strong actors in it. I'll be curious to see what once I actually get to that show.
Did you want to do the missteps thing? Did you put a list down for that?
I had I just had a couple biggest disappointments for me, and 2 of them I mentioned already were Falcon and Winter Soldier and Loki. I know you talked about the sometimes uneven storytelling or tones of WandaVision and Hawkeye, but those were for me extremely strong shows despite some issues here and there. It was the opposite with these 2, in the sense of, one, the showrunner and writers did not know the characters, did not understand the characters of Loki or Sam and Bucky, and it showed with the way they were portrayed. Yeah. The other thing is, when you have a character like Loki, and you have he's 1,500 years old or something along those lines, he's an Asgardian, and he gets neutered in his own show. In the sense, and you mentioned how Superman was neutered. And became a jobber for Supergirl. Loki did the same thing in his own show with Sylvie. Right. Yes, you can call Sylvie a different version of Loki. Doesn't matter. We just met her. Yep. And we have this character that does a face turn without any impetus behind it. Yeah.
There was no character really development for Sylvie whatsoever. No. She was just there.
None.
No. Yeah. So my biggest disappointment was Invincible.
That was on my here too.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Obviously Sylvie and Virtue Signal and the Neutered Soldier. Also, Jupiter's Legacy was a really big disappointment.
Well, I will say there's one on there that we didn't even finish watching. Yeah, and you know what that one is.
Yeah, it's why The Last Man was my next one.
One of the worst shows I've seen.
Yeah, and then there was the He-Man Revelation, like just the whole bait and switch and all of that, and Kevin Smith just being a liar and a douchebag was horrible. And I, as much as I liked Heels, and I went back and I rewatched some of it, I'm putting Heels as kind of a disappointment.
I could see that. I think the reason why I wouldn't have it on there for me is because I didn't know the expectations, meaning I didn't know the characters in from something else. But I can, like, I haven't rewatched it, so I could see where because there were some missteps in that show where it could have been extremely strong show, and it just
I think
floundered at times.
What made me disappointed is, one, they did not understand the heel face relationship in wrestling. They tried to say, well,
Yes,
you're
correct.
a heel in person in the show, so you have to be a heel in real life. They were just, everyone was so one dimensional. And then Michael Waldron terrifies me. The fact that he's writing Doctor Strange and the Multitude of Madness, they're going to give him a Star Wars project. And like, if this is what we get from him as a showrunner from Heels and Sylvie, dude, fuck off. Like, go do something else. Like, you know, just anything. Just anything that is not attached to creating television or movies.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
start your
Correct.
OnlyFans or something. I don't care. I'm just gonna apologize. I'm in a bad mood. So all right. So yeah, I mean that's the TV for 2022. I think 2021. I think 2022 is going to be better because we're not going to have any of these major shutdowns where these shows are going dark for a few weeks and not finishing and not giving us full seasons and stories and having to do weird things. So you ready to move on to movies?
Yep.
All right. Let's all go to the lobby and have ourselves a snack. Oh shit. As I drop things in my office. All right. So same deal. 9 out of 10. Obviously not comparing these to each other. It's more about like, and it's less the quality of the film and more of the enjoyment of the film.
Yes, absolutely.
And I'm going to be honest. This was really hard for me. Like coming into today, and I've had 2 weeks to plan this list. I only had 4 movies. Like I literally had to go back and think, okay, what did I watch? What did I watch more than once? What did I, like I kind of had to go through like a whole like checklist of what was going on.
And it's going to be funny because 3 of the movies on mine are movies I've seen within the last month.
Yeah.
Even though they've been out for a while. A couple of them have been out for a while. But yeah. And the first one is Eternals. No,
yeah.
It's a joke. I will say Eternals is probably the worst movie I saw this year. Although Halloween Kills is up there as well.
Yeah.
But to start off, I'll go with a movie that one of my favorite movie critics on Facebook, or not Facebook, on YouTube said it was a better version of The Matrix Resurrection.
Yeah.
And that is Free Guy with Ryan Reynolds. And I forgot the name of some of the other characters, but Free Guy is, again, this movie is, and we say this a lot when we say a movie doesn't take itself seriously, and it's just there to entertain and have fun. And I had so much fun with this movie, especially as a gamer, seeing some of the ways that they implemented some of the like the open world type things we see in some of the games, like not just like Skyrim or what have you, but also something like Grand Theft Auto. I thought it was, and the visuals that they had, it was very lighthearted, but also there was a message in there as well about like this being in a being put in a certain position or in a certain mold of how you should be, and thinking that you have to stay there, and then realizing, hey, I can be what I want to be, even if I was programmed for this, or if I was given this lot in life. I don't have to stay there because, the game or the strictures of society tell me I have to stay there. I can keep going. So even though it was very, lighthearted, very silly, very fun, I thought the message itself that was in there, those little messages that were hidden throughout, were really powerful, and it added a little bit more gravitas to an otherwise just extremely fun Ryan Reynolds being Ryan Reynolds.
He 100% went full Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah. And with that, I gave Free Guy a 7 out of 10.
Okay. Yeah, I liked Free Guy. Free Guy's not on my list. I mean, I bought it. I watched it eventually. Like I think I owned it for like a month and a half before I watched it. So, I mean, I think a 7 out of 10 is a perfect score. I mean, it was a fun movie. It's definitely one you can rewatch. And at the end of the day, like these are the type of roles Ryan Reynolds should be doing.
Yes,
plain and simple. All right, so my first one was Army of Thieves on Netflix. I enjoyed the hell out of this movie. I love talking about it. I kind of really like this universe that Zack Snyder's making. Most of it happens in the daylight, which I thought was really cool, which is really different for like just Zack Snyder-esque films. Matthias Schwinghofer being the director and one of the writers and stuff like that, I thought was really great. It introduced me to Rubio Fee, so now I have a new crush for a Hollywood person. She's just so hot, and she was great in it. And yeah, I enjoyed the hell out of the movie. The safe cracking, the effects that they did when they would show how like the safes were unlocking and things like that. It felt like a video game. It really did. The whole movie kind of felt like a whole video game cutscene. It's like a mobile video game where like your whole job is to like unlock a safe in under 2 minutes.
Yeah, I almost put that on there. Well, this again, it was one of those movies that I will absolutely watch again. Mm-hmm. It's one of those kind of like up there with one of my honorable mentions. I actually would have put that ahead of Army of the Dead, simply because Army of the Dead, I'm a huge fan of zombie movies. But there's a character in there that just really brought the movie down for me.
I mean, anytime Tig Notaro is in a movie, it brings it down for me too.
But that's a very solid pick. And I'm looking forward to seeing what happens.
So
I'm looking forward to seeing what happens in this universe as well.
Absolutely. 100%. All right. What do you got next?
John Wick meets The Equalizer, and that is Nobody. This movie, I had wanted to see this for a long time, and I never got to the movies to see it.
Right.
It was one of those things. I'm not paying $20 for this to rent this. I'm not paying $20 to buy it. And then it was $10 or something. And I bought it last week, and I finally watched it a couple days ago. And I love this movie. And I think you said when I told you about that I was watching it, that you said it was more of like kind of like a realistic. It was John Wick, but a little more grounded.
Yeah.
And that's absolutely true. Bob Odenkirk is great. And I just love again, it wasn't, and this is actually a positive in this, but it seems like a negative. As much as I'd love John Wick, it wasn't as smooth as John Wick, but that gave it that reality base. This guy that's been trying to live a normal life, and something happens where, he gets back into it, so to speak. But he's, again, everything is things like that. I don't care how strong you are, or how good you are. If you don't practice something, it's a perishable skill, and you can see that he's not what he used to be.
Yeah.
But he's as the movie goes on, he starts to get there, and just the action, a lot of the camera work and the way it's shot is great. It's one of those movies. Again, it's similar to Free Guy in the sense of it's a lot of fun. And it's one of those movies I'm going to watch again. Absolutely. I'm going to watch that probably at least once a year for several years now. Just kind of like what I do with John Wick.
Yeah.
At least the first John Wick movie. I watch that at least the first John Wick at least once a year.
Dude, I love all three John Wick movies. I like, if I watch one, I have to watch all three.
So similar to Free Guy, I give Nobody. Well, actually, I bumped Nobody up just a little bit, and I gave it a 7.5.
Okay, 7.5 out of 10. All right, so I'm gonna stick with Nobody because it's on my list as well. I am not a big Bob Odenkirk fan. I like Bob Odenkirk in small doses, unless he's playing Saul Goodman. And I was just tickled by this movie. I thought this was a lot of fun. It was really interesting to see because he's just a coiled spring that they're just tightening and tightening and tightening, and then when he snaps, and it's all over a kitty bracelet, which like this movie could almost be a parody if it did not take itself so seriously. Absolutely. Right? This movie takes itself very seriously. I loved Christopher Lloyd in this. I loved him so much. And then the fact that it was RZA on the other end of the and how great was it to use like the stereo as a two-way radio to communicate? I thought that was really, really good. I mean, this movie is like, it starts, he's just a frustrated guy. Like he's a husband who sleeps with a pillow fort between him and his wife.
Yeah.
And who is Connie Nielsen, who would Hutch totally outkicked his coverage there. His son hates him. He's like, he just like when he's constantly talking about like his uncle, Becca's brother. And he's like, I'm going to talk to someone who served real time in the military, who that was Charlie, who was played by Billy McLellan. Sorry. And like, he's trying to like talk to Hutch, and you can see like Hutch is like, I'm not even afraid of you at all. When he pulls the gun out and he gives him the gun, and Hutch takes it home and puts it in the Eggo box in the freezer.
No, he didn't even take it home. He puts it in the box.
Oh, you're right. No, it was at the office. That's right. It wasn't at home. He put it in the. And who leaves an empty box in the freezer? Those freaking psychos. That's who. But no, it was really like, this movie was really well done, and watching Hutch go from being, I guess best word for it would be the doormat, and coming back to himself, was really, really great. And I thought, where this one actually is more grounded than John Wick is because he gets shot right before like the big end scene, before the big climactic battle. Like he gets shot in the shoulder. RZA gets shot in the shoulder. I thought it was really good. RZA's use of the sniper rifle as a weapon, both as a melee range and like close quarter firearm, was really quite an interesting feat to film, and I thought that was a lot of fun. At the end of the day, this is a 7 out of 10 for me. It was fun. I've watched it a few times actually this year. I told you when I was going through these lists, it's like, what did I watch more than once? That's right. Actually, every single thing on this list I watched more than once. And so yeah, it's just well worth the watch. And if it's $10, it's 100% worth buying for $10. If it's under $10, it's a no-brainer. Yes. All right. What do you got next?
Absolutely. Another 7.5er, and I'll remind you at the end, is another streaming movie, or is not another streaming movie, but a streaming movie, is The Tomorrow War. This came out back in July. It's a fun sci-fi movie that was a perfect summer release. It's along the veins of that Independence Day summer release, big crazy sci-fi stuff going on. Chris Pratt, I thought, is great in that. Yep. And I'm a huge Chris Pratt fan. I'm a huge Chris Pratt fan, no matter what. Loved him in Parks and Rec. Guardians of the Galaxy. I think I remember first seeing him in Wanted when he was James McAvoy's best friend. Say that in air quotes.
Right.
But this movie was, it's a crazy sci-fi in the sense of, people from the future are drafting people in the present to fight a war in the future. It's against these these alien creatures that are just sick, and just I love the CG of these creatures, how they moved, and the brutality that they wish they killed was great. I just had a lot of fun with this movie. I watched it like like when it came out, I watched it like twice in the first week, and I watched it again a few weeks after that. And again, it's a movie that, from a technical perspective, other than the CG, which I thought was for the most part great, from a technical movie making perspective, from a script perspective, it's not the greatest.
Yeah.
But again, like you said, it's more about the enjoyment and the fact that I will watch this again, kind of like when I was just mentioning Nobody and Free Guy. I'm going to watch those movies over the next several times over the next couple years, probably once a year, all of them, just because it's just a lot of fun. And there's times you just want to escape. And that's what movies should be. And again, yes, I did say Free Guy had a very strong message that was, filtered within the ridiculousness of the movie. But a movie doesn't have to have that for me to for me to thoroughly enjoy it. And that's why I gave Tomorrow War 7.5 out of 10. I just, despite its big faults, I just had a damn good time watching it.
Yeah, this one's not on my list. I enjoyed it. I rated it highly. It just when having to go down to 5, right? If there was 10, if it was the top 10, this would have been in the top 10 for me. Absolutely. Free Guy would have been in that top 10 as well, most likely. But I get 100% what you're saying. I think if this would have been in a normal year with a normal theatrical release, this would have been a $700-800 million movie. Yeah. Greenlit sequel, no doubt, right? And
right.
I think Amazon was happy with it. I think they were really happy with how it turned out. So, all right. So my next one is it's an indie film. It's called North Hollywood. It was written and directed by Mikey Alfred, and it stars a guy named Ryder McLaughlin, and then Vince Vaughn, and I'm literally reading Vince Vaughn on my screen, and I said Vin Diesel. Words are hard. And Miranda Cosgrove from iCarly. And really, it's a story about Michael, who's about to graduate high school. He lives in North Hollywood. He's got like his crew of friends. They're all skaters. He wants to be a pro skater. And Vince Vaughn is his dad. His dad's just an old roughneck concrete construction guy. Like, really cares about him, just wants the best for him. And is forcing like him to like be like, dude, you have to go to college. You got to go to college and get a stable job. You got to go to college. And Michael's friends, like, they don't take skating as seriously because he wants to go pro, and they're like, nah, skating. Like, I'm gonna go to college. I might bring my skateboard, like that kind of thing. And he sacrifices a lot of things throughout this movie before he realizes like he needs what he needs. He needs his friends. He needs his family to move forward. But like, there's a point in the movie where like Michael's the focal character, but the sacrifice he makes, the sacrifices he thinks he has to make, I think is the important differentiator there. He just doesn't, he just is so single-minded driven towards what he's doing. It's just really interesting. And it's great to watch him, because when he does finally hook up with some pro skaters and they really like what he does and everything, to watch him be like, wait a second, I have to have some gratitude. I have to have some grace in this. I have people who helped me get here. And I'm not doing my part as a friend to pull them up. And these are people who are always here for me. And when he comes to that realization, that's when like, the pro skaters are like, all right, hey, we're going to go do this shoot up in San Francisco. You need to come with us. It's going to be a blast. You're going to make this much money. You're going to, but it's all about his dream. And that's what's important. And I think, like, talking about message, right? The message to me from this movie is don't get lost in what you're trying to become. Like, use where you are now and build every day. Learn something new. He gets into a relationship. Michael gets into a relationship with Miranda Cosgrove's character, who she's going to Stanford, and she's just this cool girl who he's had a crush on forever. And her name was Rachel, and it was a fun movie. I actually rented it. I haven't even bought it yet because it was like $14.99, but it was like 99 cents to rent. And I watched it 3 times in the 48 hours I had to watch it once I started watching it. And 1, slice of life, love it. 2, skateboarding, love it. So, and then like it's kind of like that like dare to be great situation that I really go all in for. So, I give this one an 8 out of 10.
All right, that sounds. I was going to ask if it was streaming, but it sounds like
no, it's not yet. I mean, you can buy it, you can rent it. I mean, I think it's like still like on Apple last week. I don't know where it is now. It was still like a 99-cent rental, but even for $5, it's worth renting. Just to watch. So, all right, what do you got next?
Okay. So what I got next is a movie that this is the only movie on the. Well, no, it's not. It's the last movie on the list that I've only seen once, and that is Spider-Man: No Way Home. This year has been a major disappointment for me from the MCU standpoint. Like,
right?
Again, one of my biggest disappointments on this list. I think the biggest disappointment, movie-wise, is Black Widow for me. So having this, after you going through Black Widow, Shang-Chi, despite me, having fun with it, and then the god awful Eternals. I didn't know what to expect. It's one of those things where you constantly getting hit with stuff, and your enthusiasm just wanes. And it's not just the movies; it's also the disappointments on Disney Plus with these shows. And I was worried that Spider-Man: No Way Home was going to be the victim of the whole, as you've mentioned, the fan fiction nature of what it looks like the MCU has become. I was not only pleasantly surprised in the sense of my expectations, but also I thought this was a damn good movie. Not just from a superhero perspective. I just thought, okay, from the superhero perspective, you mentioned this is the one hint you gave me before I saw it. You said it's the first real Spider-Man movie in the MCU, which is 100% accurate.
Yeah.
It is, for me, it's Tom Holland's best work that I've ever seen him. And I've seen, other than Spider-Man, I've seen him in other movies. There's a movie, Devil All the Time, I thought he was great in, from Netflix. But this was, I think, for me, his best role so far. As far as putting the gamut of a kid going through something he's not ready for, having lost, like true loss for the first time in his life, and how he deals with that, how he deals with the anger, how he deals with the fact that he has all this power, and with that power comes responsibility. And let's not mention, spoiler alert, by the way, Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire.
Oh no, we have to spoil this. I mean, it's been 2 weeks.
Yeah.
This is spoiler. If you don't go see the biggest movie in the first 2 weeks,
that's on you.
So
I'm
sorry.
But man, those two were just phenomenal. And we've talked about it before, how particularly Garfield makes you look at the Amazing Spider-Man movies a little differently. Not that they're good movies, because they're not good movies. It's that his performance, I should say, or his place in the pantheon of Peter Parker / Spider-Man was phenomenal. And again, we've mentioned, it's as much as I liked Far From Home, or not Far, I'd like Far From Home, okay, but as much as I like Homecoming, as much as I liked Tom Holland as Peter Parker, multiple occasions I've said the one thing I want to see is him handle something by himself and not have Iron Man there or whatever helping him. And I thought they were going to do that with Doctor Strange. And the way they get rid of Doctor Strange, yes, they bring him back at the end, but that allowed Peter to have to do this by himself.
Well, and granted, what's more powerful than magic?
What?
Math.
Yes.
Geometry in particular.
And that's the other thing. It really showed how smart Peter was. Yeah. And I just love the scenes between him and his, other
his
other multiverse.
We'll just say his
brothers.
So
yes, I cannot wait to see this movie again. Yes, it was at least 15 minutes too long, especially in that first act of the movie that I thought dragged. But still, I cannot wait to see this movie again. And with that, I give this an 8.5 out of 10.
Okay, I also have a Spider-Man No Way Home on mine. And I'm just gonna start. I give it a 7.5 out of 10. I've seen it twice. I enjoy this. This is definitely a top half Marvel movie. I'm not. It's not a top 5. I did not like this, even though this is the first like real Spider-Man movie. I did not like this better than Homecoming. I think Homecoming was
really interesting.
Like Homecoming is a top 5 movie for me for Marvel. I like it's Ferris Bueller's Day Off, but Spider-Man. How can you go wrong, right? And I just think that with what they did here, like, you know, again, like sidelining Doctor Strange was perfect. The whole like call me Steven and then call me sir. Where this movie, like, I mean, just talking about like just one, like the one negative thing is when they introduced the multiverse villains, they all knew each other for whatever reason, right? It was just kind of weird. But throwing them in the cages like that, it's like, well, no, this is really dumb. But I thought what was really important is like this version of Spider-Man that we've had in the MCU has been all ego all the time. Like he's been great. He hasn't had anything wrong. And it's because there was no Uncle Ben. There was never an Uncle Ben in the MCU. I don't like, you know, they never mentioned Ben. When Toby and Andrew mentioned losing Ben, like there was no like, oh yeah, I lost an Uncle Ben too. Like there was just no recognition to who that person was, which makes me sad. So they gave that to May, which is fine. That, like, at the end of the day, that's not a big deal. I hated the way Marissa Tomei delivered the great power, great responsibility line. It was like she was reading off a cue card because she couldn't remember how to say it. But when May died, that was the first time that Peter started like really coming from a place of, hey, I have to redeem myself. And in the end, when he's made his own suit, he's out in the snow, he's doing friendly neighborhood Spider-Manning. I think this was a really important moment to reset the character. The other disappointment is that he did not disappear into like the Venomverse or something like that. Like, I don't know. It's a very good movie. It is. It's too long. I understand why they went and got all the villains that they got. I think we could have done without Flint Marko. We didn't need Sandman.
Yes. Yeah. I agree with that one.
We didn't need the Lizard, right? At all. I mean, he was just kind of an afterthought. I thought Jamie Foxx was great in this version of Electro. This was a lot of fun. I hope he had a lot of fun making this. Because this version of Max was really, really good. And then Andrew Garfield, it just makes me mad that Sony did not give him a better, like the caliber of actor that he is. And if you want to see Andrew Garfield at his best, go watch The Social Network, because he has to deal with Jesse Eisenberg, and he makes Jesse Eisenberg look really good in every scene that they're in. And he actually makes Justin Timberlake, who I think is fantastic, even better. Andrew Garfield is a very powerful young actor. Maybe not so young anymore, but he got so screwed out of a good Spider-Man. And, you know, he was great with the quips, right? How we talked about Superman, like as Spidey, like the non like big fights, he was great. He just didn't, but this time he had the physicality because he's a little bigger, he's a little older. I get that. But no, this is a really good movie. This is a movie that Marvel has an opportunity to this movie has righted the ship for the box office. Now, do they continue down the path that they're going with the MCU? Do they continue with all these TV shows? Or do they say, hey, we have to pause and reset, and we have to follow and make these stories that are true to the characters? Because they're, they're what sells. It's not the fact that there's a all Asian cast that they say is diverse, or an all black cast that they say is diverse, which neither of those things are diversity. Wake up. But then what they do with something like the Eternals, which I'll never watch. I have zero interest. I had zero interest when they said they were going to do the Eternals because the comic was stupid. And if you're out there saying you were a big Eternals fan of the comics, you're a liar.
You're not. You weren't.
Nobody was. But that being said, like this movie should be an important touchstone should have been an important touchstone for the MCU. And because of the 3 movies that preceded it, like, I think there was an overcorrection to people going and watching this, and rightfully so. But at the same time, learn the lesson that this is a movie that is character driven first. And it's been a long, long, long time since we've got a movie that was character driven in the MCU. Because I think since Civil War, it's just been spot fest after spot fest.
Yeah, and that is very legitimate. And sadly, if I had to put money on it, I don't think they've learned their lesson.
No.
I think they'll use this as more of a, hey, we can, throw out one movie and, all will be well. I think there a lot of times these executives, these creatives tend to get full of themselves. I was just talking to someone about why do these WB executives, for example, I'm just using WB as an example, like talking about the Matrix Resurrections. Why do they do these things? Why do they say, hey, we're going to make this movie without the original creator? And, the creator thinks like, I have to do this, and makes a terrible movie. These people think they're smarter than they really are. Mm-hmm. And they have no respect for the work and the effort that came into creating the characters they're basically using for money, not because they're interested. And again, that's not everybody. I'm just saying a lot of these executives, and why I hope that this Spider-Man is a turning point.
Yeah.
I mean, I really hope that Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness, is able to continue this momentum. I just don't necessarily think that's going to be the case, especially after Doctor Strange. Again, 2021 really beat me down as far as what the MCU is. I'm not going to lie.
I think it beat everybody down for movies too, not just like MCU, but yeah. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's absolutely, because there's a lot of movies that were not that great. But I had a lot of fun with this movie. And like you said, the important thing you put in there, you said character driven. Mm-hmm. And as much as I love spectacle, like Spot Fest, that's what I want. My favorite movies are character driven movies from the MCU. Winter Soldier, Civil War, Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, Guardians of the Galaxy is in my top 5. And that's what they started as. Like, look at the first Iron Man. It's not in my top 5. It's my top 10, definitely. Mm-hmm. But how they started that, Tony Stark.
Yeah.
And then they went with a little too much of the big CG fight at the end.
Yep.
And but it worked in this one.
You never go full WB.
So before I get into my final movies, I did have a couple honorable mentions.
Yeah.
Quiet Place. I thought that was Quiet Place 2, I should say.
Yeah.
That was a great one. One movie this would have absolutely been in my top 5, but it came out like 2 years ago or something. But I just finally saw it a couple months ago, and that's Annabelle Creation.
Oh yeah,
that was one of the best horror movies I've ever seen. It's a horror movie that doesn't just rely on jump scares. It's creepy. It is so well done. It's so well done. I would put that. And again, I'm not a huge horror movie guy. I like them for the spectacle every now and then, but I thought that wasn't just a great horror movie. I thought it was a great horror movie. Mm-hmm. It was a very good movie, period. But again, it came out in, I think, 2018 or something like that.
Yeah.
Encanto, we just watched that a couple days ago, or this past weekend. It's on Disney Plus. I thought at first it took me a little bit trouble getting into it because of the singing. It's basically a musical, and it's about this family that, they have somehow they have this candle that bestows the main family members with each family member with a certain ability. And the main character is kind of like Deku from My Hero Academia. Despite all of his classmates having abilities / quirks, he doesn't have one. So the main character, she doesn't have one, despite her siblings and cousins having a certain power. And she ends up being important to how the family, because there's something going on and something coming for the house or coming for their power, not necessarily a villain in the sense of an individual, but more circumstance. And she has to, find it in herself to not only think that she realizes that she's good enough, but also there's a very interesting dynamic between her and her grandmother, she tells like her grandmother doesn't, because she doesn't have abilities. Her grandmother is like really hard on her and almost treats her like second class, or like not quite as overt, but more passively, like that passive aggressiveness. And I thought just the animation is beautiful as always with these movies. And it was very well done. I just thought it was very well done. Another movie I had on here, and it's kind of similar to the whole Free Guy video game thing, is Boss Level. I'm playing Demon Souls right now. And so I get the fact of playing a level over and over and over and over and over again because you keep getting killed. And I thought Frank Grillo was great. It's another movie that doesn't take itself seriously. It's just a lot of fun. I think it's on Hulu.
Yeah,
I've already watched that a couple times.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've watched it a couple times. So that's a lot of fun.
That was a really fun movie. I love the whole Groundhog's Day, thing.
Except when you get stabbed to death when you're about to get the shortcut and you have to start from the beginning of the level. But anyway, the number one movie on my list, and it will be by the score as well. I haven't watched it in a couple months, but it was the Snyder Cut of Justice League. It's one of those movies that for the last couple of years people have been clamoring for. So when it dropped in March, I wasn't sure what I was going to get. It was one of those nights that I ended up start watching at 3 a.m. just because I was having trouble sleeping. And this is a 4-hour.
Yeah, this one puts
pat
me
myself
to sleep
on the
too.
back fest. Yeah. It was a 4-hour pat myself on the back fest from Zack Snyder in some ways.
No, you're using the wrong word. It was masturbatory.
What was the word you used?
It was masturbatory, is what it was. It was Zack Snyder's masturbatory movie.
Yeah. But let's start with the original Justice League. The original Justice League was like Eternals to me. It was patently awful. I'll never watch it again. Now, although at least Justice League had a part or two that I would watch again, unlike Eternals. Anyway, so this movie...
you will watch it again because the entire Justice League, more or less, survived in the Snyder Cut.
I would heartily disagree with
that.
More
or less.
Heartily disagree. But again, I do like how they did this because again, when you have a 4-hour fest, they split it into, I think it was 6 chapters, which makes it almost like, because the rumor was that this was going to come out as 6 separate episodes.
Yeah, it was going to go over the course of like a couple weeks, or I think it's
which would have been stupid.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's Warner Brothers, so I don't know.
Yeah,
it's Warner Brothers, so
true.
How dare you?
I do like how they did that because that makes it more manageable in the sense of, because I think I watched the first 4 and then sleep finally got there and I paused it, went to sleep for about a half hour, woke back up and watched the rest. So this is why I absolutely want, for me personally, if they're going to do a DC universe, I want Zack Snyder in some way, shape, or form involved, because it's tough not to watch this and then think about what we got from Justice League and say this was a crime against humanity. Because that, and again, there were reasons behind that. Zack Snyder did have a tragedy in his life, and it was like WB, the Warner execs used that to boot him out, bring Joss in because they wanted it under that 2-hour mark, which again, that's fine. But when you tear apart a story and just mangle it to the point of being beyond recognition, what's the point in doing that? So I love this from the standpoint of an artistry standpoint. Yes, he uses far too much slow motion, even though there are scenes that are just absolutely gorgeous. The way he does it is, like you said, Brian, he had to have been a not a visual effects, but a cinematographer in another life, because he's just so, what he sometimes lacks in story power or character development, he makes up for in the visual effects. But I do think this movie was, you have Superman, obviously, you have Batman, Wonder Woman, but the heart of this story was Cyborg and Victor Stone's, trying to figure out himself now that he, as he calls himself, a monster as Cyborg. I thought that was a major part of what was missing in Justice League, as you say. And it was, I didn't expect that part. I had heard that he was a big part of this, as far as, I forgot the actor's name. It's just slipped my mind, but I had heard that character was a major part was supposed to be a major part of the show, of the movie. And I just kind of was one of those shrug your shoulders, like, yeah, I don't know about that, whatever. And then I see it, and it's absolutely true. And it's a totally different tone in the sense of what they're fighting for. And it's not just, how they bring Superman back, which makes more sense. It's not just all of their relationships, the Justice League relating to one another. Everything about this movie was, well, I mean, it's not even a discussion that everything about this movie is better than the 2017 version.
Yeah.
I can absolutely see why some people still don't find it appealing. It's not one of those movies where I'm just going to be like, I can't believe you don't like this movie. No, I can absolutely see. I can see, when we had the review, I could see some of the points you were making about that. And yeah, but again, it goes, because technically this is not technically what I would, well, there's two technically from a script standpoint, I should say, because the visual and the audio technicalities of this movie, I think, are fantastic. From a script standpoint, there are absolutely issues with it. I think overall it's good as far as the characters' development and stuff, but there are definitely issues with some of the things that he kept in that didn't need to be there, or some things that need to be reworked.
Yeah. With
that being said, I give this a 9 out of 10. I love this movie, and I watched it twice in the first week, and that's 8 hours of my
I'm
time.
aware that's 8 hours of your life you're never getting back.
I will absolutely watch. This is another one of those. Just like I think every movie on this list, like I'll watch at least once, at minimum once, like this coming year at least. Probably not more than twice for Justice League, just because it is 4 hours long. So, but yeah, that first impression it gave me, and then watching it again, because it was one of those things that, okay, was I just excited to see it, or did I like it that much? And it was one of those that I liked it that much. Okay. So yeah, it was surprised, but I thought about it, and yeah, this is actually number one in my heart.
Cool,
number one on my list.
How Shane Falco of you. All right, so my honorable mentions, I have 3. The first one was Venom: Let There Be Carnage. Ton of fun. Super enjoyed that movie. Way more than the first one. The second one is Ghostbusters Afterlife, which I had a lot of fun, and we got to review it with Carlo, so that just kind of made it special, because we've been wanting to have him on the show for a while. And then the third one is a Netflix movie that you turned me on to called Love Hard. Which I watched, and I was like, I'm not gonna like this movie because what's her name? Nina Dobrev was just awful, and just everything that's wrong with like the world of online dating in this movie at first. But it like turned out to be this really just sweet, like lighthearted comedy that, what happens when you have to like look for someone to love you and just, I don't know, it's funny. Like the whole idea of like the catfishing each other and how she was actually like the worst catfish, like with the real handsome guy was just really funny. It was good. It was well worth the watch. So like it's worthy of an honorable mention. All right. So my favorite movie, I've been gushing about this movie to you since I found it. It's called The Paper Tigers.
Dune?
Dune's on another list for me. We'll get to that one next. Anyway, no. So The Paper Tigers, it's three middle-aged men must polish off their rusty martial arts skills in order to avenge their fallen kung fu master. It made $118,000 at the box office. I rented it, I've bought it, and I've let it stream through on Netflix. Not just let it, but like I've streamed it on Netflix 3 times already. I've probably watched this movie a total of 7 times this year. It came out in May. So I just like, there's something about this movie that just really spoke to me. And it's the idea of these 3 friends who have just completely lost touch with each other after they were so close. And they went through the, and you and I, like you train now. I'm looking into getting back into it. With, the discipline that we each enjoy. But like these guys it was like, their Sifu's like version of Kung Fu that he taught them that turned them into these like just amazing fighters and what should have been amazing men. And they were all a disappointment to him. And then he dies. And he's killed by one of his own students. He says he's never going to take another student. He takes another one on, and that person kills him. Spoilers, but this doesn't ruin anything. It's not like a big mystery, but it's watching them go through the road to recovery as not just friends, but as men and understanding their place in the world with life and all of that. The three tigers, it's they're great. It's Danny, Hing, and Jim. Jim ends up being like a Brazilian jiu-jitsu guy. Hing is like supposed to be like the big Asian healer and Eastern medicine, and then Danny was supposed to be the leader, like the guy who was he was called Dasain to lead the dojo and lead the bring more people to this kind of kung fu. And it's just really great. But I think one of the best parts is Matthew Page plays the grown-up character of Carter, and Carter was Danny's kind of big rival in the day. And so they have all these videos of them fighting, or what they call Beimo, or what is called Beimo. Let me rephrase that. But Matthew Page is also known for Enter the Dojo. Is that's his YouTube channel, right?
Yes, yeah. Master Ken.
Yeah, Master Ken. Thank you. Which I was not aware of Master Ken until you told me about him. I don't know I missed that, but I've been through most of those years and years of videos.
Remember, stomp the groin.
Stomp the groin. But so Carter like never stopped training, and it was just like when he has information that the Tigers need, and just as he tears through them, it was very, 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 very good. But no, this is a movie. I actually give this a 10 out of 10. It gave me tremendous enjoyment. This is in my top 10 favorite movies of all time now. It's probably in the top 8, to be honest. And it's just this great, like, you had something special and you let it slip away. And how do you get that back?
Yeah.
And like Danny was a great character, and Hing is a great character, and Jim is a great character. And the villain of this was really, really good too. And there's a great cameo by Yuji Yakamoto, who you might remember as Tenzin or not. Is it Tenzin? Is that how you say it? From Karate Kid 2? No, Chosen. Sorry, Chosen.
Yeah,
from Tenzin something. they all sound stupid. But yeah, it's just there's this great scene where there's these three young martial artists who are posing as they were the Sifu students, and they have this amazing Baymo in the bottom of a swimming pool, like an empty swimming pool. But yeah, it's just well worth a watch. I loved it. I thought it was really good. It's directed by Bao Tran, who I actually reached out to on Twitter, and I never did follow up. I would love to talk to him about this. I actually logged into Twitter just to message him and tell him how much I liked his movie. I know that's not what Twitter's supposed to be used for. I get it, but that's how I was using it. But yeah, all right. Missteps. I mean, obviously, The Matrix has to be number one on that list.
Oh my gosh! So I put mine not as missteps, but as biggest disappointments. And the reason I did not have The Matrix on there because
biggest disappointments. I like
that. And the reason I didn't have The Matrix on here, which was close, is because I didn't know what to expect. I knew if this was a sequel to the original Matrix, I would absolutely have it on here. The fact is, for me, The Matrix 2, The Matrix 3, Revolutions and Reloaded, both brought down that joy that I had from the original. It doesn't take away what the original means and me watching the original. It just, my expectations for the world of The Matrix went down, I should say.
Right.
In the sense of movies. So when this, I saw the trailer for this and I didn't get hyped. I just said, okay, that looks interesting.
Yeah.
I never had high expectations for it. With Black Widow, considering she's one of my favorite MCU characters, and Scarlett Johansson is amazing, not just as Black Widow, but just as an actress in general.
Right.
And then we have a year and a half. It's got pushed back a year and a half, multiple times in a year and a half, I should say.
Right.
And then finally getting it, and getting what we got was, not only was it a travesty to the character of Black Widow, but it was a huge dent into what we have for the MCU. Again, yes, it's the MCU, and I'm just saying movies. I'm not even bringing up the missteps they had. We already brought up with Loki and Virtue Signal and the Neutered Soldier. But while Black Widow did give us Florence Pugh's character, which was great, it was just they once again they did what a lot of these comic book adaptations do. They take a fun character in Tony Masters / Taskmaster, and they completely rewrite it. And again, we know they rewrote the character. It was supposed to be
her buddy,
OT or thing or whatever. So they totally rewrote that character, and it was more about the virtue signaling. And again, the villain in this was god awful and was a caricature.
Ray Winstone had no business being cast as a villain in this. None whatsoever.
No. So other than Florence Pugh, this movie disappointed on every turn. And apparently Black Widow can fall a long way and not get hurt and still be in fighting shape. But yeah, we know how that ends in Endgame. So that was a major disappointment. I put Eternals on here, but I probably shouldn't have. I think I put Eternals on here just because it was such a bad movie.
Sure.
Not that I had high expectations, but it was, this was a legitimately, not just again, sometimes we need to separate, when they do woke stuff versus when they do just bad movies. Again, this is a combination of both. Like, even without, this was just a bad movie. It was a bad decision. It was 2.5 hours, which means it was 40 minutes too long. You had twice as many characters as you needed. It was just a bad movie from start to finish. The first 20 minutes, I said to myself, I don't know if I can finish this. I ended up finishing it over, but terrible movie. But the other one, and I don't know if this will be on yours, Dune.
You didn't know if it was going to be on mine.
Is that funny?
Oh, that's cute.
Considering someone that's read Dune almost 30 times, I figured it, but I didn't want to make the assumption.
They took out my favorite character, who's important to everything that happens moving forward, and is important to the climactic decision that puts Paul on the throne. They took her out, and now if they introduce her, it's gonna be like Paul the oppressor and not Erlon the savior. So not only did they not have her, but if they put her in, she loses all of her agency.
Yes, absolutely.
So fuck you, Denis Villeneuve.
And when a director or a writer or creator says, "Hey, I love this book, I've loved this property," and then they do something like this, it's like the whole Kevin Smith thing.
Yeah.
Basically, all you did was put up a front because you did not like this book. Because if you did, you would have done more service to the book than you did.
He did not read the book. He read the Cliff Notes.
Yeah. But this movie was visually stunning. I thought the acting was very strong. I love Timothée Chalamet as Paul Atreides is great.
Oh, yeah.
I really liked Oscar Isaac, Rebecca. I liked pretty much everybody in this movie from an acting standpoint. Javier Bardem. But like you said, it's fine when you cut certain things out of a movie. But when you cut something as important as a character as Erlon is, and then again, what they're going to do in Dune probably is they're going to shoehorn her in, and it's just not going to.
If they have her, they'll probably just make Chaney. But
they might do that.
The whole changing of the charter thing. That was stupid. It was a waste of 7 minutes of screen time. I mean, I think Denis Villeneuve, just like Zack Snyder, should be a cinematographer, director of photography. He should not be the main director. I'm sorry. I don't like his movies. I just don't. I like Sicario. That was it. But no, Dune is a mess. He did not understand the Fremen. He did not understand the characters at all. He made a bunch of virtue signal casting decisions. And because we live in a world that is so based on aesthetic, people were like, this was great. This was Dune. And it wasn't. It was the Jason Momoa show. That was the exact wrong casting. That was the biggest casting misstep in this movie is Jason Momoa's Duncan Idaho. Duncan's very heroic death was deemed suicide in this one. It's just like Timothée Chalamet and Rebecca Ferguson were amazing. They had amazing chemistry together. Except for the problem was whenever Paul wasn't next to Jessica, she had snot bubbles coming out of her nose because she was a crying simp.
And you talk about agency. That took away agency of her powerful character in the books.
Jessica's legitimately the most powerful character until the Fulcrum wakes up within Paul. Legitimately, she's the most powerful character in the galaxy up until Paul comes into his own. And even then, she's the only one who has a legit Bene Gesserit power over Paul. Not Chaney's, the way Chaney loves Paul. That's a completely different thing. When you could argue at some point Chaney becomes the most powerful person in the universe because she's the one who has the Emperor's ear. But yeah, it's just in the whole we're the Fremen were oppressed. It's there's millions of them. There's millions of them on the planet. They are hidden. They are cunning. They are warriors. They are capable and brilliant and smart. And they're worried about who their next oppressor is going to be in this movie. No. Misstep. Fuck you, Denis Villeneuve. All right. My next one is my next one is 8-Bit Christmas.
I didn't watch that one.
So it's supposed to be kind of like a mix of The Princess Bride and A Christmas Story, right? One, I don't buy Neil Patrick Harris as being heterosexual anymore. Being a dad with a wife. No. They should have cast what's his name? The guy that played Ralphie. In his role. Shoot. Peter
Wellingsley?
No. Was
or
it?
something like
Peter
that. No,
Billingsley. Peter Billingsley.
Yeah.
Peter Billingsley should have been in that role, not Neil Patrick Harris. You're a game show host, dude. Anyway, it was so dumb. It was a waste of Steve's on. The Indian you saw coming from a mile away. Of course they killed the dad. And yeah, it was one of those things that I'm sorry. It should have been like a classic Christmas movie. Like this should have been a modern classic, and no, it was dumb. I think the other big one for me besides Dune, that I actually saw was obviously The Matrix. I like being such a fan of the first one, but I think The Suicide Squad was a little bit of a disappointment, and it's because James Gunn went full James Gunn, and the
didn't have
movie,
anybody to reel him in.
Yeah, the movie just didn't make, like, the way they kept time hopping throughout the movie and stuff like that. I mean, obviously there's high points. Pete Davidson's character gets shot in the face. I mean, I don't want that to happen to Pete Davidson in real life, but watching that happen in the movies was pretty fucking cool. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. But no, there was so much waste in the movie, and you know, Starro just looked awful. It looked like watching a Power Rangers episode in the 90s. It looked
like Bebo from
that too.
DC's Legends of Tomorrow.
That's
why I laughed out loud when he.
They probably used the same render, to be honest.
Yeah,
and just changed the shape. But yeah,
that's why I laughed out loud when it came on screen. I said that's freaking Bebo.
So, and I think my last just kind of misstep from movies was the Disney Plus day and date release, charging $30 to own the movie as long as you have a Disney Plus subscription, and the HBO, just the HBO Max approach to it as well. I think they could have done more for the theater going audiences, and maybe you don't do day and date, but like you, instead of releasing it on Friday or on Thursday night, as the case may be, you release it on Sunday, or you release it as your Saturday movie, so you can at least get that big Friday box office if necessary. And I forgot an honorable mention. Sorry, I forgot an honorable mention. The Little Things with Rami Malek and Denzel and Jared Leto was a very good movie, and it just made me think of it because this is one I think everyone should watch. Sorry, you were going to say.
That was a good movie. I was just going to say that I don't know if you saw that Warner's has created a strategy that they're going to do the 45-day thing for theaters and then HBO Max, starting with Batman.
I think that's great. I think the 45-day, like the 90-day, doesn't make sense anymore.
No, it's
going to be pirated over and over and over again, a million times, and downloaded 40 million times if you wait 90 days. So,
absolutely. So
no, I'm all for the 45-day. Actually, I think it should just be a 30-day. Just like give it.
I was going to say 30-day would be fine for me.
There's so many movies that come out now. There were 12,000 movies on the list for IMDb for movies that came out in 2021 between 1/1/21 and 12/31/21. 12,000. So
Good grief.
30 days. And one of those movies was a remake of West Side Story, where Steven Spielberg did not put in subtitles because he's a douche.
And we saw how that helped him.
Oh,
it helped the box office.
Well, they blamed everything else. So just like they're blaming Spider-Man for The Matrix. Well, maybe if The Matrix would have been good like the first one. So, Lana, that's on you. Anyway, all right. Oh shit, we've been going for a while. Yeah. So 2021 was an interesting year in the front of the screens, large and small. So, some of it was really enjoyable. Most of it wasn't, to be 100% honest. Now, what do we do? Where do we go next year? Like, what excuses are they going to make for not, like, for the movies that don't perform, that maybe don't necessarily have the same ideological bent that certain people want, where other people don't, where the majority don't. So
Yeah, it's all about excuses. It's just do compelling stories with compelling characters, or just kick ass fun.
Yeah.
Those are the things I'm looking for.
Do better.
Like,
do better.
yes.
So,
because like I said, a couple of these movies aren't compelling in this character development part, but they're kick ass fun.
Yeah.
And that's, movies are there to entertain us, to help us step away from reality. That's what movies are for.
Yep.
That's what I want in my movies. So
yes, sir. All right. I will be happy, fun Brian next week. I promise. I'm not going to be like this. Just going, like, honestly, making this list made me angry. It made me so mad going through, and part of that was Dune, which I could not bring myself to watch again. And it's for sale for $30 or 20, whatever. Yeah, like $30 on iTunes, and it's like no one should pay that. Give me $30 to watch it. So, anyway, all right. On that note, Happy New Year. I hope everybody had a good New Year, and hopefully, as we're talking to you, Darryl and I are trying to figure out how to get tickets to watch the Bearcats kick the crap out of the Wolverines in the national title game.
Go Blue.
Go Cats. Talk to you guys later.
See ya.
Bye.